Why history's greatest innovators actually thought like ethical hackers. What if you discovered that history's greatest innovators actually thought like hackers? Picture this: Leonardo da Vinci staring at what everyone called an impossible problem, making humans fly. While everyone around him accepted this as physically impossible, he did something radically different. He hacked nature itself. He studied birds, dissected their structures, broke flight down into smaller systems, and found a loophole in what everyone considered an unbreakable law. This is exactly the mindset we discover when we analyze the brain of a modern ethical hacker. We're not talking about those shadowy movie characters, but the real digital archaeologists who uncover vulnerabilities to build stronger systems. And here's the mind-blowing secret: the hacker mentality didn't start in the digital age. When we dive deep into the archaeology of high performance, we discover that history's greatest disruptors always thought like hackers. Marcus Aurelius hacked Stoic philosophy to create a leadership system that governed an empire. Machiavelli hacked the political structures of his time to reveal how power actually works. Each of them looked at established systems and asked, what if this could be different? The hacker mind operates through three fundamental pillars that we find repeatedly throughout history. First, systematic curiosity, the ability to question not just what's working, but why it's working that way. Second, lateral thinking, finding unconventional pathways when traditional routes are blocked. And third, the builder's mentality, using knowledge of vulnerabilities not to destroy, but to create something better. What makes this even more fascinating is how this mentality applies directly to building a high-performance life. When you start seeing your own habits, routines, and beliefs as systems that can be hacked, something extraordinary happens. You stop being just a user of your own life and become its programmer. Think about your biggest current obstacles. How many of them do you accept as, that's just how things are? An ethical hacker would look at each of these obstacles and ask, where's the vulnerability I can exploit to create a better solution? Not to break the system, but to understand it so deeply that they can rebuild it more efficiently. The greatest innovators in history weren't just smart, they were mental archaeologists who could dig beneath surface-level problems to find the hidden architecture that everyone else missed. They understood that every limitation is just a system waiting to be understood and optimized. This is what separates true high performers from everyone else. They don't see problems as permanent fixtures, but as puzzles with hidden solutions waiting to be discovered through systematic analysis and creative reconstruction. If you're starting to see connections between this mentality and your own challenges, drop the word hack in the comments. And if this content is sparking your curiosity about how historical figures applied this thinking, smash that like button so I know you want to dig deeper into this investigation. How samurai warriors and modern hackers share the exact same mental methodology. Here's something that's going to blow your mind. The methodology of a modern ethical hacker is virtually identical to a 12th century samurai's code of conduct. Sounds impossible? Let me show you how this archaeological discovery can revolutionize your approach to any challenge. Bushido, the way of the warrior, wasn't just about fighting with swords. It was about completely mapping the terrain before battle, identifying opponent strengths and weaknesses, and finding victory through strategy, not brute force. Sound familiar? It's exactly what an ethical hacker does. Maps systems, identifies vulnerabilities, and finds elegant solutions without causing damage. Miyamoto Musashi, perhaps history's greatest samurai strategist, developed what he called eyes in eyes and eyes in heart. This meant seeing not just what the opponent was doing on the surface, but understanding the logic behind each move. An ethical hacker does the same thing. Doesn't just look at surface-level code, but understands the mental architecture of whoever built the system. The first lesson we can extract from this historical connection is what I call mental reconnaissance. Before trying to hack any system, whether it's a personal habit, a work process, or even a relationship, you need complete mapping. Samurai spent hours studying terrain before battle. Ethical hackers spend hours studying architecture before seeking vulnerabilities. But here's the most powerful insight. Both samurai and ethical hackers operate with a total responsibility mindset. A samurai didn't fight just for personal victory, but to protect something greater. An ethical hacker doesn't break systems for fun, but to make them safer for everyone. This perspective shift from exploiting to destroy to exploiting to build is what separates high performance from mediocrity. When you apply this methodology to your personal life, something magical happens. You stop seeing your problems as external obstacles and start seeing them as systems you can understand, map, and optimize. Your procrastination isn't a character flaw anymore, but a system with specific logic that can be hacked. Your difficulty focusing isn't a permanent limitation, but mental architecture that can be restructured. Samurai discipline meets hacker thinking in the ability to maintain a calm mind while analyzing complex systems. It's this combination of strategic patience with technical curiosity that creates true masters of high performance. The ancient warriors understood something that modern productivity gurus miss. Lasting change doesn't come from willpower or motivation, but from understanding the underlying systems that drive behavior and then systematically upgrading them. This is why the samurai could maintain peak performance under extreme pressure. They had trained themselves to see every challenge as a system to be understood, rather than a force to be resisted. If you can see how this methodology could apply to a specific challenge in your life, share in the comments which area you'd like to hack first. Your answer might inspire other success archaeologists on this journey. Why the break to build mentality is the secret of history's greatest negotiators. Get ready to discover something that will completely change how you see conflicts and opportunities. History's greatest negotiators, from Talleyrand in European courts to Steve Jobs in Apple boardrooms, all mastered a skill that's the essence of hacker mentality: breaking thought systems to build impossible deals. Charles Maurice de Talleyrand, the diplomat who survived and thrived through 5 different French regimes, had a fascinating technique. He studied not just each party's official positions, but their emotional vulnerabilities, hidden fears, and undeclared motivations. He hacked opponents' minds, not to manipulate, but to find connection points nobody else could see. This is the fundamental difference between superficial persuasion and high-performance negotiation. A common negotiator tries to convince using obvious arguments. A negotiator with hacker mentality enters the other person's belief system, identifies logical and emotional vulnerabilities, and reconstructs the situation so everyone wins. Steve Jobs applied this brilliantly. When trying to convince John Sculley to leave Pepsi and join Apple, he didn't focus on obvious benefits like salary or prestige. He hacked directly into the executive's value system with the devastating question: do you want to sell sugar water for the rest of your life, or come with me and change the world? Jobs identified that Sculley had a vulnerability in his self-image system. He saw himself as someone who could make a significant difference in the world. Then he reconstructed the entire proposition around that discovery. The methodology is always the same. First, map the system. What are the person's fundamental beliefs? What are their fears, their aspirations? Second, identify vulnerabilities. Where are there inconsistencies between what they say they want and what they actually value? Third, reconstruct the proposal so it perfectly aligns with the person's internal system. But here's the deeper aspect. When you develop this mentality, you also start hacking your own limiting systems. You realize that many of your impossibilities are just bugs in your mental software that can be fixed. High performance in negotiation and in life doesn't come from trying to force the world to adapt to your ideas, but from understanding surrounding systems so deeply that you can find leverage points others can't even see. It's like being an archaeologist of human motivations, unearthing hidden treasures in every interaction. The master negotiators understood that every person operates from a complex system of values, fears, and desires. Instead of fighting against this system, they learned to work with it, finding the precise points where their proposal could integrate seamlessly with what the other person already wanted. Drop negotiate in the comments if you want me to bring more historical case studies of great negotiators and their techniques. And don't forget to like this video if you're seeing how this perspective can transform your own negotiations. How to transform any obstacle into raw material for your personal revolution. There's a moment in every great innovator's life when everything changes. It's not when they find the perfect solution, but when they realize the problem itself is the greatest opportunity in disguise. It's when the hacker mentality finally, truly clicks. Nikola Tesla faced one of the biggest possible obstacles. Thomas Edison, the most powerful inventor of his era, became his direct opponent. While most people would see this as career suicide, Tesla hacked the entire situation. He used Edison's opposition as fuel to develop the alternating current system, which didn't just overcome the limitations of Edison's direct current, but revolutionized how the entire world uses electricity. This is the mentality I'm calling hacker alchemy, the ability to transform any resistance into raw material for construction. And here's what I discovered studying dozens of cases like this. There's a specific formula you can apply to any situation in your life. First step: radical problem redefinition. Instead of asking, how can I overcome this obstacle? Ask, what system is this obstacle forcing me to understand better? Tesla didn't ask how to compete with Edison. He asked what limitations in Edison's system could be transformed into advantages for a completely new system. Second step: mapping hidden resources. Every obstacle carries within it resources you can't see until you change perspective. Your job rejection might be the push you needed to discover entrepreneurial talent. Your financial difficulty might be the perfect laboratory to develop creativity and efficiency. Third step: reverse construction. Instead of trying to break the obstacle, use it as foundation to build something greater. The best ethical hackers don't destroy vulnerable systems, they use knowledge of those vulnerabilities to build stronger systems. What makes this approach revolutionary is that it transforms you from victim of circumstances into architect of solutions. Every new challenge becomes an opportunity to expand your mental arsenal, to develop capabilities you didn't even know you had. High performance doesn't happen when your life gets easy, it happens when you develop the mentality to transform any difficulty into fuel for growth. It's when you realize you don't need perfect conditions to create extraordinary results. You need the capacity to hack any condition and transform it into the perfect condition for your next level. This is what separates success archaeologists from ordinary people. It's not that they face fewer obstacles. It's that they've developed a systematic methodology to transform every obstacle into strategic advantage. The greatest innovators in history shared this secret. They didn't wait for favorable conditions to create breakthrough results. They developed the mental technology to manufacture favorable conditions from whatever materials life gave them. If this video changed your perspective on some current challenge, share it with someone who also needs to discover this methodology. And if you want to continue this archaeological journey of high-performance discoveries, subscribe to the channel because we still have lots of unexplored territory to map together.